On November 12, 2019, the U.S. Supreme Court rejected an appeal from the Remington Arms Company, which argued that the company could not be sued for the criminal misuse of its firearms under federal law. Now, family members of those who died in the 2012 Sandy Hook Massacre will be able to proceed with their lawsuit against Remington, in which they argue that the gun manufacturer is responsible for the mass shooter's actions. They argue that inasmuch as the company negligently marketed a dangerous weapon to the general public, the company is liable. But where exactly does this line of reasoning lead? Stay tuned to find out. As reported by AP, the New York Times, and other media outlets, the plaintiffs in Remington v. Soto allege that the Remington Arms Company is guilty of criminal negligence. They should never have negligently entrusted a weapon as dangerous as the Bushmaster AR-15 to the general public. Further, the plaintiffs allege that the arms company engaged in militaristic and hyper-masculine advertising by using phrases such as "man card" and "if it's good enough for the military, it's good enough for you" in their advertisements for the weapon. Such advertising, as alleged by the plaintiffs, makes the weapon appeal to at-risk youths who are more likely to engage in acts of violence. As a reminder, the basis for this lawsuit is the Sandy Hook Massacre that occurred in Newtown, Connecticut. On December 14, 2012, a 20-year-old male stole his mother's legally owned Bushmaster AR-15, murdered his mother, and then proceeded to the Sandy Hook Elementary School where he killed 26 people, subsequently committing suicide when police arrived. As such, the shooter himself never legitimately purchased the weapon through legal channels. The Protection of Lawful Commerce in Arms Act of 2005 currently protects gun manufacturers from frivolous lawsuits involving members of the public who criminally misuse their firearms. But in this case, it has been alleged that that law does not apply, since Remington violated Connecticut's Unfair Trade Practices Act by marketing their rifles to disturb young men. Could there be any merit to the plaintiffs' allegations in this case? Let's take their ideas for a test drive, apply them consistently across the board, and see where it leads us. First, I see no reason why there shouldn't be other entities held accountable in this case as well. The AR-15 that the shooter stole from his mother was manufactured in a Remington facility. What contractors took part in the construction of that facility? Did these carpenters, electricians, and engineers not knowingly help to construct a facility where dangerous weapons would be manufactured and subsequently sold to the public? It seems to me that they are every bit as responsible as the shooter in Newtown. After all, they made it possible for a negligent company like Remington to market dangerous weapons to the public. And while we're on the subject of advertising, let's not forget other companies that engage in militaristic and hyper-masculine advertising as well.
The all-new 2015 F-150. The toughest, smartest, and most capable F-150 yet. A high-strength military-grade aluminum alloy body that's more dent and ding resistant. These advances go even further.
Did you hear that? The Ford F-150 is the toughest and most capable yet. Further, it has a military-grade aluminum alloy body. It sounds to me like the Ford Motor Company wants at-risk young men to use these trucks to mow down pedestrians. And it certainly seems they want their truck to be the vehicle of choice for getaway cars when engaging in bank robberies, assassinations, and other crimes. Let's file a lawsuit against the Ford Company for their militaristic and hyper-masculine advertising. And while we're discussing this issue of who else is responsible, let's turn the camera on the plaintiffs themselves in this case. What exactly were they doing while all this criminally negligent advertising was going on? Didn't they knowingly send their children to a school without proper security measures while there were criminal advertisers grooming young men to become mass shooters in the area? Sounds like negligent parenting to me. Don't they deserve a little jail time too? But of course, that begs the question as to what sort of security the school should have had. Presumably, if the school had had an armed guard, the shooter may have been able to be stopped. But then, we all know that guns are far more likely to be used for illegal purposes than they are to be used in self-defense or the defense of others. So if the school had had an armed guard, that itself would have been criminal negligence by the school. After all, who's to say that armed guards wouldn't have used their weapons to kill innocent people as well? But then, not having security measures seems to be criminally negligent as well, so I guess we'll just say that the school is criminally negligent. But what about the courthouse where this lawsuit was filed? Does it have armed security? Do any of those guards have an AR-15 or a similar .223 rifle available to them? If so, why? Did the company that manufactured those rifles ever sell to private entities? Better include them in the lawsuit as well. So there we have it, folks. Mass shooters are not responsible for their actions. They are compelled to do what they do by negligent firearm manufacturers who engage in militaristic and hyper-masculine advertising. No matter who you are or where you are, you have, in one way or another, enabled or facilitated this practice, which means you're just as guilty as those firearm manufacturers themselves. Why don't we all head to prison together? And stepping out of sarcasm mode for a moment, if you don't know what this video sets out to prove by now, I can't help you. That is my 2 cents. Take it for what it's worth. Everyone, please take a moment to subscribe to my 2 cents on the BitTubers and BitChute platforms. YouTube has shown that it is no longer a viable platform for independent content creators, and we need to build a presence elsewhere before the inevitable censorship comes. The links to both profiles are available in the BitTubers tab on my website, my2centsvideos.com. Thanks everyone for watching. If you liked this video, be sure to like, share, and subscribe, as well as hit the bell to receive notifications so that you never miss an upload. And if you're a fan of my channel, please consider supporting me on Subscribestar, Bitbacker, or Patreon to receive special rewards. All links can be found in the About section of my website, my2centsvideos.com.